So, as many of you know, there are two young and very dynamic defensemen in today's NHL, Matthew Schaefer and Lane Hutson. Now, the thing I love about both of these guys, and I'm sure 80% of people would agree with me on this, is that both of these guys are very symbolic of 2025 NHL defensemen, right? They're not the most physical guys in the world. They're not even the biggest guys in the world. However, both of them are highly elite players, help their teams score goals and win games, right? So today we're going to compare these two athletes, and by the end of the video, we're going to ask the question, who has a greater impact on his team? Let's start with Lane Hutson, right? Lane Hutson, second round pick, 62nd overall, and I think the 2022 NHL draft, right? So a bit of a sleeper pick, right? However, he made his rookie season last year, 6 goals, 60 assists in his rookie season, and he won the Calder Trophy, right? This guy has got quick feet, elite head fakes, very dominant on the power play, and he's a very good passer, right? Now let's talk about Schaefer. First overall pick from this year's draft from the New York Islanders. He's got, I think, let's see what I have here, 15 points in 20 games. He's currently on pace for about 63, 64 points. And the main skill stat that I have here for him is that he can go coast to coast, and he is very aggressive on the rush. I'm not sure if this is still the case, but I did see that a couple days ago he was leading all NHL defensemen in goals. He had 7, I think. I think Cale Makar had 6. And that's ironic because Patrick Waugh actually compared Matthew Schaefer to Cale Makar. That's another video. But this guy is very elite, right? I got to watch some film over him earlier today. Very elite player. Both of these guys, really, Hutson and Schaefer, have had a dominant effect on their team. Now, that leads me into the question, who has a greater overall impact on the team, on each of their teams, right? I honestly don't think we can say yet. I think Lane Hutson is in his second season. Matthew Schaefer is in his first. Neither of them have much playoff experience, right? Hutson went last year, but Schaefer's still new to this league, right? They're both new. So I don't think we know. However, I will say that the Montreal Canadiens made it to the playoffs last year for the first time in a couple of years, and Lane Hutson did play a big part of that. He wasn't the only factor, but he did play a big part of that, right? And he did have some point totals in that postseason against the Capitals, right? Currently, the New York Islanders are in 4th in the Metro. They're in the wild card. Not sure if they're in the top or the bottom, but they are currently in a wild card spot. And they had a slow start to the year. But they are battling pretty hard for that playoff spot this year. And I think they might just get it. They just might get it. So that's really what's tough, because when you look at it from those viewpoints and those angles, they both have helped their team become more successful, right? And the Islanders could potentially make the playoffs for the first time in a couple of years. But I want to go with a different perspective on this. And I want to say that from a personality standpoint and from a character standpoint, I think Matthew Schaefer's got more of an effect on his team than Lane Hutson. No disrespect to Hutson. In my opinion, he's the more skilled player, and he's a little bit more fun to watch just by a little bit. But when you look at Schaefer's celebrations, right? Or when like when he scores a goal, or when something, big happens, right? Like, or a couple times he's gone on the media, right? He took a little shot at Henrik Lundqvist recently. You see the kid's personality. And you see that the kid not only loves to play hockey, but he wants the New York Islander organization to succeed. And I'm not saying that Hutson doesn't want that with Montreal. He does, right? But I'm saying that we can see that persona, we can see that character more with Matthew Schaefer, and that really is awesome to see, right? And so I think it's great for Islanders, the Islanders team, because I think that team is it's not a poorly structured team. It was only 4 years ago that the Islanders last made it was 4 years ago and 5 years ago that they made a deep playoff run, right? And some of the guys that they still have that they had on their team then are still on that team now, right? Let's talk about their defense for a second, briefly. Mayfield, Pelech, Pollock, all three of those guys are solid stay-at-home defensemen. Specifically, Adam Pelech, he's having himself a great year. Okay, so by putting in Schaefer into that decor, right, you add another layer to the defense, right? So Schaefer not only is good defensively, but he's a powerhouse offensively. But I think personality-wise and from a person standpoint, I think Schaefer definitely has a greater overall impact towards his team. However, from a skill standpoint and like helping your team win games, I honestly don't know. Give me your thoughts in the comment section. I think it's still a little early young to tell, but I think in the coming years we could be seeing a couple of Norris Trophy battles between these two players because they really are elite players. That's going to do it for today's episode on G Speaks Hockey. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today's episode. We'll be back soon with another video, and take care. Bye-bye.